Okay, in this video we are going to discuss about instability in tension. Okay, so what is instability? When we apply the tensile load in the specimen, we'll observe that the stress will keep on increasing until it reaches until the stress reaches the ultimate tensile strength, and after that the necking begins, and beyond that necking region, then the material becomes unstable. Okay, it cannot withstand any increment of load, so therefore it's been mentioned as an instability in tension. Okay, and in this video we're going to discuss what is the condition for the instability. The condition is this dP is equal to 0, because in the engineering stress engineering strain curve or load versus elongation curve, we will observe the ultimate when the curve reaches the peak. Okay, at peak we know that the slope is 0, and therefore we consider dP is equal to 0. But we know what is P. P is equal to sigma into area, where sigma is the true stress and area is the current cross section area. Okay, and dP is equal to sigma dA plus A d sigma, and which is equal to 0 when the system becomes unstable. Okay, now what we are going to do is we are going to use the volume preserving deformation, which means A into L is equal to constant. Okay, so if A into L is equal to constant, from that relation I can obtain this relation, which is equal to d epsilon. Okay, and then now in this relation I could rewrite this relation as d sigma by sigma, which is equal to minus dA by A. Okay, this comes from this equation. Okay, and now in the place of minus dA by A, I could use this relation and I could put d epsilon. I could put d epsilon in the place of this one. Okay, once I do that, and if I rearrange the equation, what I will get is this relation. Okay, so for a given true stress true strain curve, if you want to identify where the maximum or where the ultimate tensile strength has happened, or at which point the necking is going to happen, okay, we could identify that point using this relation. All you have to do is in the true stress true strain curve, so which could be like this, and in that curve what you have to do is we have to draw a line d sigma by d epsilon as a function of epsilon. Okay, and if we draw, and the curve will be something like this. So if you see, the curve is keep on decreasing, which means the slope is keep on decreasing. That's observable, right? Initially that slope will be something at the elastic region. After that it will be keep on decreasing, and these two curves will intersect at a point, and at that point d sigma by d epsilon is equal to sigma, and that is the point where the instability will occur or the necking will happen. Okay, the strain at that point we know that, which is denoted as epsilon u. Okay, fine. And if you see, we could have a relation instead of just sigma, we could have a relation in terms of d sigma by dE, where E is the engineering strain. Okay, and when we put engineering strain, we will get this relation, and people use this relation to interpret the picture using this when they plot true stress versus conventional strain. Okay, so these are different relations, and with those different relations people could use to identify the ultimate tensile strength point using different method graphically. Okay, fine. Now and in the last video we have seen for a true stress true strain curve we can empirically come up with different relations, and one of the relation is this one, right? So which is called power curve, and there are many other relations. So this is one, and this is another, and this is another, right? And you could come up with your own relation. Okay, now for example, for a power law, okay, and if I impose this condition, what do I achieve? Okay, I'll leave that as an exercise, and what do I achieve is this relation. Okay, so sigma, so the relation is sigma is equal to k into epsilon to the power of n. Okay, and ultimate tensile strength will be achieved when that epsilon reaches epsilon u, but that epsilon u will be equal to n. Okay, so that's the condition for power law. I mean, this is true only for the power curve. Okay, and you could identify what is the relation you are getting, or what is the constraint or condition you are getting for different other equations as well. Okay, let's see one example. In this example, say from a true stress true strain curve, so people have identified an approximate curve or approximate relation between sigma and epsilon in this manner. Okay, where in this equation this is n. Okay, now the question is, what is the ultimate tensile strength of the material? Okay, by ultimate tensile strength, SU. Okay, SU is the engineering stress at ultimate or when the material is about necking. Okay, that's what we need to identify. SU, what we need to identify. So first, for that, what we are going to do is, at which point this so at what sigma that necking will happen, that we need to identify, and that we can identify by looking at this equation. We can see that it's a power law curve, and for power law we know this is the relation. So in the place of epsilon, all I have to do is substitute n, which is 0.33. If I substitute, I will get sigma, which is sigma u. Okay, true ultimate tensile strength. Okay, and once I identify that, then we know that there is a relation between sigma and S, right? And we need to use that relation. We need to identify what is SU. So first, what is the value of sigma u? We will get it if we substitute 0.33 in the place of epsilon, and we'll get 971 megapascal. Okay, and what is the relation between SU and sigma u? This is the relation, and in this relation I think they have to put this bracket. Okay, so now I know sigma u, but I do not know EU as well as SU. Okay, now we know the relation between epsilon u and EU, which is this. Okay, and in the place of epsilon u, I could put 0.33. Okay, and then using that, if I identify EU, and if I substitute, or just in the place of 1 plus EU, if I substitute e to the power of epsilon u, I'll get the same thing. So from that I could calculate what is SU, which is equal to 971 divided by e to the power of epsilon u, which is equal to 698 megapascal. Okay, so this is how we can calculate ultimate tensile strength from a true stress true strain curve, or from a relation given for true stress true strain curve. Okay, now in necking there are two types of necking. One is called diffusive necking. Okay, in diffusive necking, if you see, the cross section area will keep on reducing like this. Okay, and there is some, and we could observe this diffusive necking in the circular cross section, not just in circular cross section but also in the rectangular cross section. But in rectangular cross section, where this is the width and with the small thickness, okay, we'll observe one more necking, which is called a localized necking. Okay, so this is the localized necking, and this localized necking, if you observe, the width will not change. Okay, the length of the the length of the width will not change, but the thickness will change. Okay, at that time, what is the condition for instability? The condition for instability has been derived, and I'll just mention you the final result. The final result is d sigma by d epsilon, which is equal to not sigma but sigma by 2. Okay, and if you use power law, so epsilon u is equal to 2n. Okay, so what I can understand from this relation, so if we use say I have taken a material, and for that material I am considering a specimen made of that material in a cylindrical shape. Okay, that material, the necking will happen when epsilon reaches value n. Okay, but at the same time, if it's a rectangular piece, the instability or the necking will happen when the epsilon reaches twice the amount, 2n. Okay, so from this, what we could understand is, if it's a rectangular specimen, then it will go through more deformation before it becomes unstable. Okay, thank you.